Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Uh, I am Noman Ali, founder and CEO of Supply Chain Talks, and it's an absolute pleasure to host today's exciting discussion on how AI and automation are reshaping the logistics and the 3PL industry. As we witness rapid digital transformation, smart technologies like AI are not only improving cost effectiveness, but also pushing boundaries for sustainability and operational transparency. Today, we have an who are at the forefront of these innovations. Joining us today, Adil Vohra, co-founder, uh, Saminathan Raju, Enterprise Sales Director of Ramco Systems, Alin Kadum, Managing Director of Savoy Middle East. Uh, we hopefully will be joined very soon by also Vaibhav Magic Solutions. Together, we will explore a range of topics from the global and regional adoption of AI, particularly in the GCC, to the role of robotics modern warehouse management. Our conversation will also address in integrating these technologies and how they are being leveraged for predictive analysis, sustainability, and much more. We encourage you all to engage with our panelists. You can share your question in the Q&A chat box. Questions shall be addressed at the end of our discussion. We hope today's discussion provides valuable insights into how AI and automation are transforming logistics and 3PL. So let us dive into this exciting discussion. And I would like to start off my first question with Adil. Adil, my first question for you is just a second. I just need to.
No, but before you go ahead, am I the one who is losing your voice, or is it across everybody who's not able to listen to you in a rhythm?
My voice is breaking.
That's what I could sense, but not sure if I'm the one.
Yeah, I had the same at certain time.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just let our attendees bear with me for a second. Just a second. Hello, my voice is better or still breaking?
You should talk longer to ascertain that. Please go ahead. I'll let you
Should
know.
come near. So voice is better then.
I think you
It's
should
still
go
the
on.
same.
Yeah.
This is all. Okay, let's go on. So, anyways, as I was saying, I would like to put my first question to Adil, and that is, how would you assess the current level of AI adoption in logistics and 3PL in the GCC region? And the second part for the same question is, and what, from your perspective, what are some of the region-specific challenges or factors which are either driving or hindering this adoption?
Perfect. So thank you, Naman, for the opportunity. I think it's, first of all, it's a great initiative that you're taking, and I think kudos to you. So I've spent a lot of time recently, the last year, traveling to Saudi, meeting a lot of different types of organizations, so mostly like tech companies, manufacturing companies, logistics companies, and then also government representative. So what I found is that it's really impressive how the entire region, especially like UAE and Saudi Arabia, is investing heavily in AI and logistics tech. So all of the initiatives are backed by government, and then there are a lot of smart city projects as well. So no, everyone knows that UAE, Saudi Arabia, and GCC in particularly is a very strategic position and is going to be a global logistics hub. And because of that, that requires a lot of supply side efficiency and as well as demand side efficiency. So overall, we understand that efficiency is a main pillar that would be required for this goal for the entire region to achieve. So that's why when you talk about efficiency, you always now talk about the buzzword, which is AI. And I strongly believe that because of a lot of growth that we're seeing in the region, AI will be a key will play a key role, especially in solutions like warehousing and transportation. So there's a the huge scope and a huge opportunity for particularly for AI and automation in the region. However, also, so I'm a startup, and there are a lot of other companies similarly who are working in different types of technologies, AI, ML. So I think one of the main thing is that there are a lot of varying regulations across the GCC region. So obviously, like setting up a company in Saudi and UAE and Qatar are very different. There are very different requirements. And then in some areas, the setting up cost is very low. In some areas, the upfront cost is very high. And then obviously the one more thing is for AI, you need a lot of local talent. So for that, you need to have people who are specialized in building that capability and having that understanding. And then obviously, over if you look at over a horizon of about 5 to 10 years, then obviously we see that the government is playing its role. Now the companies and the companies that are working in Saudi need to play a role building this knowledge base for AI, making sure their employees are aware about AI. And then from there on, obviously, the opportunity seems to be pretty big. So I think that's my 2 cents for now. And then obviously I'll be able to contribute more to the discussion.
Uh, Perfect, Adil. I think, yes, from your perspective as a new entrant to the market, your valuable insights. But Elaine and Sammy, you guys have been in this region for quite some time. So what are your take on this?
All right. So again, thank you so much, Noman, for giving this opportunity. Thank you, Adil, to understand your perspective on this aspect, right? So that was really encouraging. So just to introduce me, Sammy, I manage the logistics and ERP portfolio from Ramco Systems for the Middle East and Africa region. So as Noman suggested, so I get the privilege or I have the opportunity to work with a lot of warehousing transportation companies, 3PL and 4PL logistics, because we work with that particular sector of the industry. We don't work with the manufacturers. Instead, the 3PL, 4PLs are the targets for us, right? So I would put probably the logistics tech side into seven spectrum, right? Very quickly to give my 2 cents. One is definitely AI and machine learning. Second is the blockchain, and third will be the robotics, right? Fourth is Internet of Things. Five is logistics platform. I'll certainly say or put a lot of my eggs and bet onto the logistics platform because that is going to be your fundamental thing. The next will be multi-cloud lakes, right? The cloud lakes are going to be transformational for you to take your data to the next level. And the last but not least is the next gen analytics. So definitely we will get time to talk about all these seven pillars. But to answer your question, Noman, we need to understand the pre-AI and the post-AI path. Right. So who should definitely take on the AI and what are the prerequisites that essentially sets the base for AI to work optimally. So that is going to be the critical factor for any organization because what we see is a lot of organizations are definitely stable but are in different maturity cycle, right? So we need to have a consultative approach for any of the organization to tell them, okay, this is the starting point for you. This is where you need to travel, and then probably this is what you can expect from the optimal outcome perspective, right? So that consultative approach and the expertise in terms of the logistics transformation and AI is going to be the challenge which the industry is currently facing, and that is what we are working very closely with as well. I think we'll discuss more. This is my 2 cents for now. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm very happy to announce that we have Viva between us finally. Welcome. Welcome to the
Thank you,
discussion.
everyone.
Fine. So
Happy to be.
apologies that we had to start without you, but you have just come in the right time. I would like to move to my second question, and I will put this to Viva since he has just joined. So I'm putting him in the spotlight directly. So the second question for our session is that how are companies sorry, how are companies leveraging AI-driven solutions like predictive analytics to optimize transport management and warehouse operations? So Vaibhav, over to you, my friend.
So in warehouse management, predictive analytics is being used mainly in terms of inventory, right? How you can forecast your inventory, how you can predict your inventory, and that prevents a lot of wastage as well as you running out of stock. So
Hmm.
I believe that is one of the key things in the inventory management space. The second ways companies use is efficient planning of their warehouses. Because of the forecasting and predictable capabilities, they are able to understand what kind of space they'll need. They'll be able to cater to seasonal demands, and that's how they are able to manage their warehouse operations much better. Same applies for transport management. Actually, it's a much bigger problem because empty or underutilized trucks running is a major operational concern for supply chain. So having predictive capabilities as to what kind of orders will come in, what kind of routes these trucks will have to follow, all of that can be taken into account while planning for your vehicle capacity, while doing your load building, while doing your optimizations, while defining where and when your fleet of vehicles should be, right?
Hmm.
So all of these greatly enhance the capabilities of companies to use their resources to their utmost potential, whether it's the warehouse management or the warehouse space or their inventory or their assets such as trucks.
Awesome. Aline, I will request you if you can also give your perspective,
Yes.
because I know Savoy has an amazing, warehouse solution, warehouse management, and a transport management solution as well. Apart from the, the robotics and the automation on the warehouse. So if you can please also.
Sure. First, thank you, Noman, and good evening or good day, depending from where we are connected. Um, Noman, you've been in the region for the past 10 years, as you stated, we is offering automation and software, so technology. It's really amazing how to see the region, back to the first question, progressing. A few years back, we've been in similar maybe platforms, webinars talking about digitalization. And all of a sudden now we are in the AI era. So it's
Awesome.
really fast growing inside the Middle East region, and this is shows also how the infrastructure is ready to accept and adopt new technologies. And of course, it is good for business like us providing technology, because we can leverage on new tools like or using AI in our applications like warehouse management system and others, to make sure we add the decision making inside the software, not only managing the warehouse, but contributing in the decision making and how we place the inventory inside the warehouse, analyzing the market, restructure the stock inside the warehouse, having the A mover at the front and maybe the C mover at the back. Now, today is done based on historical data and says maybe forecast, but not on predictive information. So basically, this is how we can really upscale the application itself to be better helping the supply chain directors and warehouse managers in the day-to-day business. But also goes beyond, because it's not only about the operation, but how we can better use the machines, because nowadays the trend of automation becomes a necessity, and maybe we can touch base on it later on. But how I can use AI by predicting the machine failure in advance, predicting bottlenecks, because when you invest into automation, it's really complex, even though I'm in the industry, but I can tell you it's complex to understand how these machines connected and working seamlessly together. So you need a layer of AI or predictive maintenance helping you to optimize your operations, detecting the bottleneck in advance. So yes, of course, AI is entering the market, and the predictive AI analytic is a key for the applications running the warehouse, but also for the machines running the warehouse.
Perfect. Perfect. I'll move to the next question with Sammy. Sammy, the next question actually it's relevant to everyone, and I know that you all have had your share of the challenges that organization is facing. So, Sammy, if you can give your insights, what are the key challenges that organizations uh, face when integrating smart technologies?
Obviously, since we are focusing on AI and automation, so what are the challenges that they face? So your take on this, please.
No, perfect. I think like this is a wonderful question where the entire upstream and downstream gets covered, right? So I was talking about the pre and post AI path, right? So here we need to talk about the pre AI path. So the challenges faced during not only having integrated technologies, even in choosing the right technology, right? So any solution, right? So I would probably put this into four sections, right? So first is going to be the choice of technology, and second is going to be the contextual application of the technology, right? So this is when we use the term contextual, it is detrimental to state that like where you are, what exactly your current status, and what exactly your future status, and what is your growth path for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, right? So that determines exactly what sort of technology advancements and transformation which we need to undergo. So if that awareness on a very long term basis, if we possess, I think like that is going to help us in terms of selecting the right technology for us. Not only AI, I think we are talking about all the 7 pillars which I just mentioned a minute earlier, right? And the third metric will be how do we track these trends and metrics in the set frequency. And the last one is how do we expect the outcome, right? So these four are the integral stages. How do we probably select or probably deploy or probably implement or execute any sort of solution in the system, right? So these are four parts. And what I wanted to probably talk about is the challenge is in selecting the right technology, right? So that comes along selection of the solution, and second is like under what business circumstances we are selecting that. So whether we are selecting the solution which is actually run by my competitors or probably similar companies like mine. So there is no unique proposition, right? So every company is unique, and their targets and probably their state of current operations are going to be totally different. So the humble requirement is like we should not be selecting technologies based on our competition or probably similar companies using the similar technologies. So that is going to be my key takeaway or suggestion, I would say, right? And having a very holistic view and long-term view is going to be detrimental. So that is going to be very important because we might have challenges in the short term. We can't select a solution or probably integrate solutions to only provide a band-aid solution. Instead, it should be on a very long-term perspective. So as I told earlier, what are our goals in terms of the next 3 to 5 to 10? It could be like efficiency, it could be your revenue, it could be like operation optimization. So based on the collective thought, what we wanted to achieve, and based on that, we need to select each of the best of breed and provide or probably attempt in getting an integrated ecosystem. So that is the ask, right? And the last thing is like change management and user awareness. It is not only important for the selectors to understand the technology what we bring in. It is also equally important, or at times more important, for the user champions and the people who are going to end of the day use the system to understand what technology is going to come in and how we are going to optimally use that to bring in solutions for our challenges, right? So that awareness has to percolate. It has to be made aware, or it has to be transferred or cascaded to the user community as well, so that everybody understand why the solution is implemented and what is expected out of each of the user to make this as a successful one. These are my couple of cents, Naman.
Perfect. Actually, just yesterday I was having a discussion around this with someone, and I recently faced one statement from someone that we will go with this solution because I used this same solution in my previous organization and the previous organization. And this, coming, from a consultancy perspective, this is not the right decision metrics. That since I was using it earlier, you need to understand what your business is and what are the needs, and now what are the new technologies which are coming in. So there's a reason that there are so many different solutions, and not every solution is a perfect for everyone. But it has to be the best fit which is possible, and then you customize further on. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents over here, but Adil, I would like your take on this, the same thing as well, as you are a new entrant into the GCC market, into the Saudi market. So what is your take on the challenges that you think
I
are
think
there?
it's very interesting because I think what I would back what Samathan said. There are legacy chat. So obviously, I'll break them down to three things. Their legacy infrastructure is there. Then the cost of operating AI is pretty high. And then eventually there's a lot of resistance to change. But I think just to make sure that everyone, all the partners, colleagues that we have on this call who want to have a flavor of what AI is. So I think our interaction with AI started with Gen AI, which is a generative form of AI where we can speak to it. It's backed by LLM models or small language models. So that's, I think, one thing. But AI has been in the works for the last 10 to 15 years. A lot of predictive intelligence, a lot of automation is done through a form of AI. But I think what we really need to understand is, so there are three aspects to it: how you interact with the AI, what is the workflow that you're optimizing, and then what is the output that you want. And in all these three forms there is a lot of work going on. But right now what we see is an event. So I was in Silicon Valley last month actually, and we spent a lot of time with other Indian companies, other companies from the region who are just focusing on AI. And then we tried to understand what the impact would be. And over there it was very clear that AI in itself, it's not a definite answer yet, because Gen AI is something which is completely revolutionary. But especially for warehousing and logistics, what we really need to understand is the workflow layer to it. Right now, when we speak to organizations, like Noman, you mentioned that they're going with legacy systems. So that legacy system does not support any form of upgradation, or even any form where we can extract data and then use AI to automate it. Then obviously the cost of AI is pretty high. So let's say if you want to work in Saudi, you need a Saudi data center, then you need to have the right kind of model that you're going to work with, whether that's Chat GPT, whether that's, let's say, Gemini, Lambda, Claude. So then you have to decide which model you want to work with. And then you have to see the exact use case that you want to optimize. So right now, Chat GPT will not come in, or any model will not come in and start giving you revolutionary ideas like, this is how much you should produce, this is how much you should store, and this is how much you should, basically manufacture your product. So I think we're still in a very early stage, especially in the region, because our businesses need to understand that AI is pretty complex in nature. So it's not just talking to a AI agent, it's not just having that answer instantly. That's one of the outcomes. So we really need to start changing or making AI adaptable to businesses. So right now, for example, even large organizations, and not just, they have a huge, like they have face a lot of trouble and a lot of cost just migrating from one Oracle to SAP. So so we really need to make sure that these organizations are aware about the latest technologies. They understand that technology right now is something that they can switch instantly if they have the right implementation team or the right kind of tech stack that they're going towards. And then that comes the point where they can integrate their data sets with AI. So the legacy infrastructure is like the first problem to it. Then secondly is the high cost. So everyone knows that there is a fight going on between the computational side of AI or the hardware side of AI. If I have an organization that has that has its own data centers, or is using its own cloud service, how much cost are they going to bear to have it, like Vertex GPUs, and are they going to install GPUs as well? So that's another side of it, by which no organization probably is looking at it, because now everyone is just familiar with ChatGPT, because if you log into ChatGPT, you have an app and you speak to it. But mostly data security is very important, where an organization wants to make sure that they have their own cloud server, and then they need to equip it with enough computational skills to process AI. So that's another layer to it. So we need to make sure, like, and I feel like in Saudi, they're doing a tremendous job with their initiative. They're building their own local data centers. The cost of energy is pretty low in Saudi. So I see a lot of like synergies over there in terms of the region, if you talk about it. And then obviously the resistance to change. So I think the first step obviously starts with so there are two types of people generally. Like there are people who are uh, are based on FOMO, so they don't want to miss out an opportunity. They want to basically go out and hunt for the newest innovations in the world and then implement them in their company, and they want to grow within their role. And then there are people who are just feared of exit, so they, like Nomanu said, they just want to replace the exact system that used to work in their last company to make sure that they don't get fired from their job. So what we really need to understand is that AI is something over the years, it's going to change a lot of things. It's going to change a lot of way we process information. So each company or a leader in the companies has to take an initiative by educating or giving some form of training to their employees on how to use AI. And that can be like very basic training on what generative AI is, how does AI work. So they get some form of familiarity. They're not scared. They're not like it's some ancient or it's like some alien that they're speaking with. So I think that's necessary from the leader's perspective. And then generally, once they see good use cases being built, apart from sub chat gpt is a brilliant use case, but it's more of like a consumer use case. So once they see impact in terms of an enterprise adopting AI, and then that's visible, and there are a lot of companies, for example, I can quote one example to you. So there is a hospital which has now equipped itself with AI agents, and now every time you want to make a call and you want to get your prescription, it's an AI agent that's speaking with you, and then they basically they have your data from their ERP. They know where you live, they know what drugs or prescription that you need to have, and then they send it out to the local pharmacy. So all of that is automated, and the impact on cost is very huge. So previously, when they had call centers sitting in the offices, it would cost them like about $4 to $5 a call, and now it's costing them like about 0.5 cents. So you can see the impact in value, like you can see like it's a dollar impact in the organization. So I feel like, yes, we're still in the early phase. The region is adapting to it, but a lot of education awareness needs to be given to enterprises, because and we face this a lot of times, that we speak to a customer and he says that I want robotics in my warehousing. And when we go and say, okay, do you have a WMS? And he's like, I don't have any WMS. So we're like, okay, how will the robot, even if the robot is powered by AI and all the machine learning algorithms in the world, how would the robot be part of your organizational workflow, which needs a WMS, and then it needs an accounting system, and then you can automate from start to finish. So I think there are still steps. Some organizations are in like a very mature stage, but a lot of these organizations are still at a very early stage. And I feel like the more conversation we have about this is going to make sure that people are more aware, and then there are positive effects of AI that we see generally in the coming years. So I'm excited about that.
If I
Awesome.
may,
Yep, please.
Noman, it's quite
Please.
interesting what the colleagues shared, and I will not repeat what they mentioned. But what's clear in this equation, that a lot of challenges are for adopting either AI or technology within the supply chain or the warehouse. I think the key would be also the let's say the people, the human factor into this equation, because it's a transformation journey. So even adopting a WMS is a transformation journey. Going back to having AI-powered applications or robotic solutions, it's a major transformation journey. So having the human, I say, how we'll follow with the customer and take him hand by hand, step by step. Because at the end, when we are transforming, we are going to something which is seen but not unknown. Don't know what we don't know, and this is also the challenge of people adopting technologies in the previous jobs, because they are afraid from the change. So we cannot expect them to be knowledgeable enough, which is at least taking the decision to transform is a bit of a big step ahead. So here, having the right organization supporting them, educating the team, bringing the right message, simplifying the messages, showing them the benefits, highlighting the risks, and then transforming these challenges into opportunities. Because a challenge of people doesn't know how to use, let's say, AI today, it's a great opportunity of growth for them. So how can we make this challenge, which is being afraid from the change, transforming it into opportunity for the people first at the end of the day, and then second for the company itself. This is, I believe, the applications that are there. And as you mentioned, Adil, our role is really to speak up about it, helping our customers. And we all face these kind of situations where we would go to a company, they have high expectations, and then we tell them, be a bit pragmatic in your approach, because until you reach to this level of high-end technology, you have steps to follow. And as I take always as example, having a nice iPhone and a Wi-Fi or internet-free island doesn't make any sense, if you're not connected to the world with this nice machine. So I think this is where we have to play the role of education and educational role, We have a amazing really region looking craving for change for technologies, but sometimes if you go very fast we miss the end line, which is having a seamless integrated solution. So this is what I wanted to add. So the challenges that are mentioned are, I believe, across different sectors. So of course today we are focusing on the supply chain and logistics, but it is a transformation journey, and I believe we are speaking about the technology side, but we should not forget and we should not minimize the human factor, and having the right partner bringing the technology and the right consultant, such as you, Noman, for example. You are also doing a great job in the region to bring this knowledge to the customers.
Right.
Thank you,
And
Alain.
Yeah,
just
Yes,
to
sir.
add,
again, if I could add
yeah.
one point to that, so I totally agree the people aspects and how that transformation is difficult. And what has really helped our customers is when we try to reduce the time to value, right? So a lot of legacy companies mainly, they come up with big batch systems and it takes you 1 year or more to implement, right? That requires a lot of people challenges, organizational challenges, and even if when it gets implemented in a year, the requirements would have changed, the people would have changed, the processes would have changed, so it doesn't deliver value, right? But how you can make this transformation more faster is if you can provide something that is super easy to use, and within 7 days, it can provide you some value, right? It might not provide you value to the entire organization, but to a specific team, it should provide you tangible value, right? And then that team is your champion. You have your internal champions. You work for the next thing, for the next thing, and next thing, right? If you to just optimize their routes, you don't have to implement the entire ERP. Just give them optimized routes on a pen on piece of paper. It will save them 10% saving. You can do that within a week. If you can just scan and do OCR for their pick list or for different warehouse operations and digitize that aspect, that will give you a buy-in from the WMS team. So you can very easily provide value and get uh, get into that organization very easily and get that option better.
Perfect. Adil has raised his hand and Sammy has also. So I think we are continuing with this question. So Adil and then Sammy, please.
So, and I think I agree with what Vaibhav has said and what Alain has have said. I completely support it. I think just one more the aspect that we need to understand is the evolution of AI. How AI is evolving with companies like ChatGPT, Gemini, and all these Meta. So all of these who are investing heavily into the model side of things. So what we need to understand the distinction between is how we can give value to enterprises. So there are a lot of companies, and initially we saw that a lot of companies were doing wrapper AI. So they were like, I'm an AI for a lawyer company or a hospital. So all of these were wrappers who were using ChatGPT at the back end, and they had made into separate startups. But when ChatGPT came up with a new update where you can create your own custom GPTs, all of these companies then had to vanish. So I think what we really need to focus, and especially as everyone is a B2B specialist, we are all working with enterprises, is focusing on the workflow side of it. Like Weber said, that we need to understand how we can bring value to, let's say, optimizing a route and how we can do it quickly. Obviously, before AI was the buzzword, route optimization models were still there, but they were back through machine learning and they were still existing. But now AI is obviously helping a lot with the calculation side of things and obviously make decision making side of things. So we really need to understand, as and especially all of us are interacting with enterprises and selling our solutions to enterprises, that what is the significant value we can bring, both in terms of either reducing the cost of that company or increasing the revenue of that company. Not just we're not just doing AI for the sake of AI and just having like, okay, you can speak to an AI bot and then get data out of it. So I think that I strongly believe that the workflow side of things is very important, because in 10 years time you can never compete with a model like chat gpt or Gemini or Meta. They're far ahead than us, so you will always use them or use someone who has the resources. So I will never create a new search right now. I will try doing something different. So I think that's what we need to understand, that as enterprise leaders we need to see how we can use the existing knowledge or the technologies that's been built by these giant companies, and then help our companies like in the GCC region gain fruitful outcomes through that. So I think that that'll be like a major role for us in terms of AI.
Perfect. Sammy, you had to you raise your hand as well.
Yeah. Great thoughts, Adil, Vaibhav, and Alain. So one key experience which I wanted to share is like probably two. One is like there is a strong need for a solution versus a product, right? So that's what we could feel. Second is a tailored approach, right? So when we say transformation, we all definitely would agree that it is not only about AI. AI is just a part of it, right? So we're talking about machine learning, we're talking about AI, we're talking about robotics, we are talking about blockchain, we're talking about IoT, we are talking about geotagging. So people have started sensing that, okay, we need a stabilized base. So when I say stabilized base, uh, how do you automate the data capturing, right? So IoT plays a major role in terms of how do you automate the data capture or data feed perspective, right? So that stands first, and probably having a very stable WMS, TMS, and a supply chain underneath layer. So that becomes the ocean, right? So when we're talking about blockchain, or when you talk about cloud, or when you talk about predictive analytics or AI, so it all probably comes and joins your ocean, right? So the data is going to come back to your ERP, right? So that is where the criticality of having a very stable and scalable warehouse management solution or a transportation management solution with adequate headroom to grow, right? To scale, that becomes much more important. So now we're experiencing a trend wherein like they want to scale up with robotics. They want to scale up automation in terms of warehousing or transportation. So they want to strengthen their WMS, strengthen their TMS. So it becomes an ecosystem, right? So there is an automation in terms of IoT. There is an automation in terms of complete underlying stability of solution, which is called legacy wise, we call that as an ERP. And we talk about geotagging, and we're talking about last mile, tracking, traceability, customer centric tools. Hundreds of tools have come up in terms of increasing the efficiency in certain specific pointers, but we should definitely be cognizant of the fact that where it is going to end, right? So where it is going to probably give the feed to the system, where it is going to rely end of the day. So that becomes the ecosystem. So the trend is like not to create one particular area or not to automate one particular segment per se, but if the transformation is on an ecosystem basis, it's going to be long lasting. And definitely there could be phases based on the priority and the nature of the business the organizations are in. That's the view from my side.
Perfect. Thank you. But I will also now add something to it. Fine. So I'll give a personal example. I walked into a warehouse some time back, and the topic was around robotics. And I walked into the warehouse and I saw, and I will tell you why I'm giving this story. I saw that they have, deep racking installed in their warehouse, and I could see that there were more than 100 pallets which were stacked on the floor. And the deep racking, in my quick estimate, visual inspection or estimate, I could see that at least 30 to 35% of it was vacant, because each aisle was defined for a certain product, and they were out of, they could not put additional SKUs over there. Now, the reason that I'm saying, giving this thing, is that even before everything, the biggest challenge that I'm facing, or I look at when I talk with the potential clients or people over here, is that even before, when we talk about digitization, automation, and everything, even before people, the people is a part of it, but the first step for me would always be that, do we have the right processes in place? First, your processes have to be there. They need to be in line with what your business operation is, and the processes should not be about today. It should at least be there for the next 5 to 10 years with your business vision and everything. The second point, which goes in parallel, is that, are your people, are technology ready? Do they understand? Do they have the ownership? The top management ownership is a different thing, but at the end of the day, the top management is not going to use the system. It is going to be the people on the floor. Are they ready? Are they technology ready? If not, then you need to have that change management in place. Either evolve them or you change them completely. And then the third part comes in, where you talk about these WMSs, this automation, robotics, and everything, AI, AIoTs, and everything, blockchain. So for me, this would always be the third step. Without the first two, you can put in a lot of technology, but at the end of the day, and I was giving this example yesterday in the conference that, a lot of our houses, we all like to do the treadmill. We have that ambition when we are buying it. We buy the treadmill, but at the end of the day, the treadmill becomes a towel hanger in every house. So, and this is what happens to these machines as well, that they are just there.
That's a value addition, Noman.
Yeah. So now, since we are talking about the robotics and everything, so Alain, this is perfect for you. The next question, and the next question is, yes. So the next question is, what role do robotics and automation play in modern warehouse management, and how these technologies are helping to address challenges like labor shortages, accuracy, and speed in order fulfillment?
Good. So as a good transition, hopefully that robotics inside the warehouse will not be like the treadmill in your house. So,
no, I gave it away. I gave my treadmill away.
Yeah, but look, it is a good example because I have seen projects exactly the same. People invested in a robotic solution, they get excited, and then the business case was not designed properly, and then they had to sold out or try to figure out how they can reuse it in some different ways. So it is a common problem. This is the education as we're speaking about it is very important, and the pragmatic approach when buying it, like the treadmill. Do I have the time? Do I have the right landscape around me to do the sports using it? So what automation brings really into the warehouses nowadays? It's really becoming a pivotal role within the warehouse to have automation. Okay, of course, we are speaking in the phase that first the processes are there, the technology is adopted, the transformation is starting. You don't start with the robotic. The robotic comes as a final outcome of the transformation that the customer is engaging in. So today it becomes a necessity because we have still maybe cases where WMS is not yet adopted, but it becomes very democratic to have WMS compared to 10 years back, where for them having Excel files and automation was having a WMS. So today the market is mature enough to say differentiate between having a WMS and automation. And we have seen the transformation. 10 years back, people did not even understanding what we are speaking about automation inside the warehouse in the region. Now it's become very common to receive specific requests about automation. So the market is ready. So now what automation adds to the people adopting it, it's really being ahead and stay ahead to the competition. And the tools and the possibilities that automation enables to the user, meaning the supply chain director, is really tremendous. So how we can simply optimize, and you mentioned the warehouse with multi-deep and the pallet, it came to our mind, automation solution, if we have it, even though you can have multiple SKUs in one channel, the automation can manage to bring the SKUs out, and then you have the stock inside. So this indirect benefit of the automation that is not only measurable by I am automating to just move my pallets, is what other features that automation add. This is what's important today to measure. So the dynamic allocation, this is part of it. The dynamic allocation of the stock inside the warehouse. Today, the manual warehouse are static allocations, meaning I have defined a location, the same SKUs go there. If I have a powerful WMS, maybe I can do reshuffling within the warehouse, but it's very heavy operation because it's only handled manually. Having automation, which will, of course, come back to the direct advantage of automation, which is adding efficiency, reduce errors inside the warehouse. I think this is our given now. So we cannot come and compare the speed of a car to a horse. So it's given the speed that automation will bring to your warehouse. 10 years back, my speech would be around why automation is needed because of accuracy, speed, future proof, less errors. This is, I believe now, these are like by default given argumentation. But what goes beyond is important, that able to manage my storage inside the warehouse, optimizing my stock, having, as I mentioned before, the A mover at the front and the B or C at the back, what automation does it. So during the night time when people are sleeping, this is where automation works, and they reshuffle the items inside the warehouse, preparing the warehouse for the day after. And then comes into it the optimization of the fulfillment, and the most and key point is the customer experience. All what we are speaking about today is, if I'm taking the e-commerce business, is all what you are speaking, and all the technology stack that you are putting, and the transformation is to make sure that the customer in his pajama opening the door, he's happy at the end when he's receiving his pack. So all these systems of route optimization, fulfillment inside the warehouse, back end, front end systems is to make this person happy, but this is what is making the company running. So in this journey, the automation brings you added value to the customer experience, having the right package size. So we have systems which will allow us to define, this is one of the simple features our WMS is handling, is define the right size of the item, and of the package for the item. And I think we all had this experience, maybe in the same house, receiving a item in a big box, and you have to unfold it and remove all the how we call the filling inside the carton. So it's a really unpleasant and also not a cost-effective solution, because you have bigger carton size or more transportation cost and more consumable. Having automated process to detect the right item size, or at least cut the box in a smaller size, will add value to your experience by having a less consumable and even less transportation cost. So you also increase your profitability. These added values, it's not only about performance, it's not only about accuracy, it's not only about speed. You will have it by default. And this is where the market has to go nowadays. And it's no more a nice to have, it's a need to go into automation. But the added value of the other process around, and last and not the least, the options doesn't stop with automation, or doesn't end. Cycle count. Nowadays, you have to have wall-to-wall cycle count, and it's really mandatory to do it. See, with automation, since we are tracking all the items on real time, and every time you do a pick, you can confirm the remaining items in your tote, for example. You don't have you have a kind of continuous cycle count, so you can get rid of this need of monthly cycle count wall to wall or yearly cycle count. So is it about the efficiency of the automation? No, it's added feature that you will get it kind of cherry on the cake when you add automation to your ecosystem. And this is where the differentiators are. You can still simply fulfill with having a warehouse full of people. And we know the estimation is having automated warehouse versus manual, we have 80% less manpower involved. And when we are tagged as people waiving jobs, but we are waiving the non-lucrative jobs, if I may say, replacing the repetitive tasks. So having the automation inside the warehouse compared to a manual warehouse, yes, we can fulfill the same, but the number of errors in the manual case will be higher, because the human factor, we all are human, we all make mistakes, compared to machine that can repeat the same repetitive task. And last but not the least, imagine all these machines are managed by AI-powered software, which help the machine to decide. Because automation concept is repeating tasks. I'm here to eliminate or replace the repetitive tasks. So this is where automation is really good in. What is needed is, how can I decide on behalf of the automation, of the robot, of the machine? The machine itself is not the intelligent part, it's just the execution arm of the warehouse. So having AI-powered WMS, and this is, we have a lot of discussions about Audacio software, for example, which manage really seamlessly these warehouses, makes this machine more and more efficient compared to maybe 30 years back, where if you look today, this is my topic, which I will try to stop on this statement. The robot, if you look back, it's in the 70s. It's nothing new. If you look to the robot inside the factory, it's the same six-axis arms doing the job. Today, the same robot is used inside the warehouse. More efficient, less energy consuming, of course, but still the concept didn't change. We don't have a robot with different concepts. But what changed? Having the features of camera, which will help with machine learning algorithm, which will help the robot to sense, without teaching him, sensing the item and picking it, making then, in this case, the possibility of replacing these operations at the warehouse. So the machines is important at efficiency, but the factor of now, this is the new era, I would say, of warehouse automation, having the AI machine learning algorithm, helping the robots to also be more efficient and more, I would say, autonomous inside the warehouse.
Perfect. I would request others to join in, but I would like to give a little bit my insight. I was doing a project approximately 2 years back in Riyadh, and I was in a warehouse, and I was, observing the process in the morning. I was sitting in the warehouse, looking how the deliveries are coming in, how it was a DC, and to my shock, and this is where robotics come in. The first few hours was just for the forklift driver just to remove the pallets from the racks, move it away because the delivery which is coming in are category A items and they need to be put over there. So now if robotics was there and AI was there, so if your warehouse knew what the delivery is coming in the morning, in the night, the warehouse can rearrange all the pallets automatically and it is ready for receiving the category A, for example, if the high inventory is coming. So the morning hours which are wasted in rearranging the pallets and receiving the pallets manually, those at that time it can be ready for delivery automatically, and your product is there early morning to your shops, to your distributors, or to your partners and everything. So so when you were talking about the robotics and inventory cycle count, this thought came to me that we recommended at that time, but then again, it takes time for people to understand the true value of automation and robotics. So please, I'm done over here. Adil, Sami, Vaibhav, if you would like to contribute on this question, please.
Well, just 2 points from my side, which were use cases which we solved, right? So one is like identifying profitability at every order level, right? So that was huge actually. So we help in identifying the profitability, whether this particular order is executed at this percent profit or negative margins. So that was a great use case which we solved. And second thing was like, how do we trigger event-based automation? So when I say that, the story is like in a cold chain network, right? So we need to probably give the nutritional value comparison, right? For example, if the shelf life is about 45 days, so what was the nutrition value on day 10 and what is the nutrition value on day 35? So that if there is a decline in the nutrition value, based on that, it has to be auto transferred to a very specific bin or a zone which is allocated. So this event-based automations can probably end up in a lot of automation or gives you a lot of qualitative measures without the intervention of human beings. So that was a great standardization which we brought in, and that was actually hugely appreciated, and that was replicated in multiple other cold chain networks. And in the same cold chain, there was another use case which was very challenging, which is multi-SKU tracking, right? So you might have a garden, you might have a lot, you might have a cereal, wherein like you would have performed multiple value-added services, and that gets into a different palette, right? So do you have a trackability within? There were three SKUs which were actually merged, combined, and then probably there is one outcome SKU, and there has to be a continuous traceability and trackability between 3:1, right? So this traceability was a huge challenge which we solved. So these, I thought, like from the warehouse, I think Mr. Alain covered most of it. I thought these three use cases which were actually challenging, which we covered or implemented in the APAC and in African region, was worth highlighting. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Adil, you raise your hand, please.
Yes, so I think Elaine gave a very detailed explanation on the different types of use cases and how they have evolved. And just like to start with a comment on the human resource side, where people feel that robots will come in and then change everything, and they'll basically lose jobs. It's interesting. So I was meeting a customer. So his problem was that he has more warehouse managers and supervisors than people actually on the floor, and they obviously have like a budget assigned for warehousing. And what he wanted to do was he wanted to make their whole entire process more productive. And the first step was to go to like a proper WMS or a proper system to just solve the point where he has people who are just writing manually the delivery orders and the picking list, and to uploading all the data multiple times on an Excel sheet. So he really wanted to optimize it just by having a proper workflow where he can have all the information automated. But I think Noman, you will obviously know about this. We have to see how supply chains have evolved over time. In the pandemic, we saw that because e-commerce grew a lot, so a lot of emphasis was being given to just in case type inventory storage. where people wanted to make sure that their stock was closer to the customer. And now, if you look at an example where you have millions of SKUs and any order can come in from anywhere. So I think one of the most practical use case is solving for an issue and having that predictive intelligence where you need to make sure the stock is in available in the warehouse nearest to the customer. So I think that's one of the most, and I think the pinnacle of it is obviously we always see these videos from Amazon, or the model that how Amazon is basically has multiple warehouses and how they are using AI in their warehouses to make sure that customers, so they know what you're going to order before you know. So I think that's one really impactful way. But then we also have to look at, like, normally a lot of these B2B businesses that we all work with are not just in case, they're sometimes just in time as well. So mostly they're probably doing so maybe they're manufacturing textile, maybe they're chemical manufacturers. So they basically get like a very big order from a large retailer or a large principal business, and then they go in and procure the inventory. So a lot of these then relate to the fulfillment or the OTIF that we call it. So let's say if I give you an expected delivery time, like I will deliver my order by in 2 months, and anything can go wrong in between. I can have this Suez Canal crisis where my ships are stuck. So I think that's another use case where event driven AI comes in and really helps you make your decisions, like what's the alternate that you can take. Right now you're in a bottleneck, you need to procure another freight partner, you need to hire another truck, you need to probably source products from somewhere else. So I think that's, there are two sides of the problem. Whatever SNOP process that you follow, you need to see what value you get, and then you can have target down what is your biggest problem. Like for example, I said, for an e-commerce business or a large retailer, their problem is availability of stock and being close to the customer. While for a manufacturing business who's producing like plastic molding products, or let's say textile products, his biggest problem is his material resource planning, and then the efficiency with which he reduces its cost and delivers on time. So I think we really need to understand, and then there can be very distinct solutions for each type of use case. And that's where we need like a platform that really understands all the data that is going in, and supply chain has a lot of data. So I think that's one key aspect in supply chain, which includes what your type of nature of business is, and then how you want plan to solve it. And then you can break down, like, okay, like Vaibhav said, that one customer can have a problem where he wants to see the nutritional value of a product, and that's like his core KPI, and he wants to make sure that he's giving that value. So I think that's one aspect where AI can come in. And then some other customers can have, like, they probably have a hard time figuring out what type of transport vendors to work with, or what type of vehicles they need to outsource, or basically freight partners there. So I think there can be multiple use cases. Like Weber, obviously Route Magic is solving for a particular use case. There can be someone who's doing that for WMS. There are a lot of companies who are doing it for procurement. So they basically sort down the suppliers and then make the best available quotation and the quality. So I think there are multiple use cases that we can go about, depending on if I know like what my problem is. So AI is not at that level where I don't know what my problem is and it can give you a solution. So I think I would just like to add that to the conversation.
Perfect. Thanks, Adil. I would like, because we have already crossed the 1 hour mark, so I would like to move forward, ideally with the last few questions. So, Vaibhav, I would request, this question is for you, that, let me share the question on the screen. What role does AI play in enhancing sustainability within logistics and 3PL industry?
Yeah. So think of AI as a super intelligent system, right? Which essentially can capture all the data it has. It has context awareness, and it has brains to make patterns out of data and understand and derive results, right? If used properly, it can reduce wastage a lot, right? On all particular aspects. It can reduce wastage in terms of fuel costs. It can reduce wastage in terms of all the wasted stuff that will really, really enhance sustainability, right? Uh, a lot of AI, and the good thing is, right, using Gen AI, we are using models, we are making models intelligent, but then they are reusable. right? Earlier, deep learning used to happen, but every company needed to train its model in itself, right? Which would use a lot of compute power. And hence, it was really bad for the environment to train each and every model that bad. With the advent of generative AI, even though OpenAI or Google Gemini use a lot of resources to build those LLMs, leveraging those LLMs isn't compute intensive, right? So it doesn't consume that much energy, and the results that it can give in terms of uh, solving issues, that
Mm.
would be huge, right? It can, as AI evolves, it will become super intelligent, right? And things such as global warming, those issues it will be very easily able to solve because it will be able to identify the current data. It will be able to identify the patterns within that. It will be able to run multiple scenarios. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? Everything is right now is hearsay and propaganda that, hey, Arctic ice caps will melt and this will happen and the right. It can actually run all those scenarios with, hey, what happens if temperature rises by two degrees? What happens if there is a hole in the ozone layer with this particular thing? And compute and say, hey, this is the best possible outcome. That will have a huge impact on global warming. So I believe AI will be a forefront over the next 5 years in helping us tackle sustainability issues.
Perfect. With this, I would like to move to the last question, and that would be Elaine. And after this, we will take some questions that we have received from the attendees. So the last question for Elaine is that how do you see the future? Actually, you mentioned something very interesting that 10 years back, we were talking about why it is necessary and everything. Now automation is there, AI is there, and it is part of our lives. So what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years? What to expect in this area?
Yes, it's very the same. I think this is the hardest question that all of our, let's say, in all of our industry is trying to answer. What would be the next automation? I would say innovation or transformation that we will have, because at the end of the day, automation today exists. I believe AI, it is really, it comes at the right moment to transform the automation industry by itself, because for the past, I would say, 10 years, if you look to the market, automation was stagnating a little bit with some systems available. We covered almost all the operational part, and it becomes what I call the traditional automation. So we are now in the era of traditional automation. So it might sound a bit strange for some of us, but automation that we are implementing today are existing since maybe more than a decade or 2 or 3 even. So it's not really new, the automation in the warehouse, or the warehouse automation. I'm talking about the warehouse automation here. But what is adding value today is the AI to this automation, revamping it, giving it a new life by giving it more power of decision. So before we had to run a algorithm defined in advance, so the machine can run and execute the job. Today, this execution can be brought to the machine level, meaning the AI can help these machines to learn by themselves, improve the operations, take decisions. Give you a simple example, very technical, but by itself powerful. The robotic arm, which been in the market for more than a decade to pick the item, was originally taught how to do. So we were teaching the robot how it should operate. Okay, it's like learning. It's a model which is existing, loaded to the robot, and it's repeating. Nowadays, we don't need to teach the robot. We can add a very advanced camera with image processing algorithm and machine learning, which is, let's say, touching base with the AI. Okay, the robot will see the object, and without knowing which object is inside the tote, it can pick a bag of chips. At the same time, it can pick a carton-shaped item. So this is what AI and machine learning algorithm are bringing to this industry, to revolution this industry one step ahead. And beyond this, we have also thought about the future using AI algorithm. For example, the traditional warehouse using barcodes. This is what we all know, and this is what all the say industry leaders will think. Automation require every item to be barcoded, or say every storage location has to be barcoded, so, okay, so I can track it, trace it, and add all the data related to this item inside it in terms of manufacturing date, expiry date, the quality, the item description. So we need something to identify the item. Nowadays with AI, and this is what one of the projects that Savoie is developing, is how I can imagine a barcode-free warehouse. So of course it's not for tomorrow. This project is for the coming decade. And the fact of having combining again camera vision with AI algorithm, that the item, if I take this cup, all of us we can identify it easily, but the robot cannot identify it unless there's a barcode. So the idea is to say, if I see this cup, the robot or the machine will be able to identify the item and then link it to the operation. And this way you can save a lot of steps, which are scanning, being obliged to have the physical barcode on the item. And in this way you can really save a lot of operation, and you can enhance your let's say your barcode free operation within the warehouse. So we believe the future is in automation, but the future is now. And the next step is really to add AI and give more power to decisional power to the machine inside the warehouse. So the coming decade, that the AI and robotic, they will come together. There is no way to dissociate automation from AI in the coming decade.
Gentlemen, Sammy, Adil, Vaibhav, your input
Yeah.
on this.
So I totally agree with Alain that hey, the intelligence of the systems will increase, so the decision power will improve, right? Apart from that, I see two other aspects on how AI will change the future, or right. First is the software web interface, or the interface as we know it, that will dissolve. What I mean by that is, because of the power of AI, right now you have to do to a mobile app, or let's say a web application, or even a desktop system to do different things, right? All that will go away, where warehouse workers will have just headphones and a glass, smart glass, right? And again, it need not be a fancy glass. It will be something that every company can afford, and using that, exactly what data that a worker needs at that instant of time will come in front of him, right? And he will be able to execute commands using his voice, right? So how we interact with systems, will interact with software, that will completely change. And I see we moved from a desktop-based system to SaaS systems, right? Now, even SaaS will dissolve into, you have exactly what information you need at your point of time, and you can give commands to execute that, right? On the hardware side, how I see robotics evolving is, besides being super intelligent because they'll be connected with the software, is their physical components will become very interoperable, right? A robot can have an arm which can lift heavy stuff, right? But very easily you'll be able to replace that arm with someone which can extend for 10 meters and reach places, right? You can replace that arm with a hand that is very touch sensitive, and it can break an egg, right? Imagine if each and every piece of the robot becomes so extendable and so interoperable, right? It is like the Lego blocks that we have played with, right? You can build so many things from those Legos. In this case, your robot, end user will be able to customize the robot based on the operations to do 100 different things, and the same robot, right? With few parts changing here and there. That will make the robots very cost effective and bring in a huge wave of automation as well as productivity enhancements.
Awesome, perfect insight. I really enjoyed the interoperable parts of the robot. It's very much like Terminator part 5 or part 6 coming soon.
Yes, totally.
So, Sammy, Adil, your take, because then we will come to the end of our session, our discussion. Amazing discussion so
Fantastic.
far, by
Yeah,
So I
it
think
was amazing. So only one thing. So it all boils down to only one thing: how human intelligence is going to probably work with the AI, right? So it is not only AI, as Viber was mentioning. It's going to be blockchain. It's going to be robotic. It's going to be AI. So now I think like we need to transform very quickly. We had been used to work in a set fashion, right? So we used to work with the existing data, with the information or directions from the supervisor. So it's just going to be completely transformational. It had already been started, and in the next 5 years, I think like the data is going to, help us or probably direct us do our day-to-day stuff, right? So we need to probably change in two things. One is like how do we work, and how do we work with the AI, right? So those are going to change the transformation, because end of the day, I think the choice of technology, the alignment with the technology remains with the human beings, right? So we know better where we are headed towards from the organization perspective, and it is no, supreme critical aspect that we align with all these technologies to create a blend of it, and then constructively use these technologies to align with the objective of the organization. That's what I see. And transformation is essential for us more than the technologies is my conclusion.
perfect. Thank you, Adil, for your closing remarks.
so. I think everyone has contributed, and I think I completely agree with it. But just one contrarian view would be the cost side of it. So we need to understand our region and how businesses operate, and then what is the cost that would include setting up a warehouse, implementing a robotic solution. Would it actually be a measurable value? So I think most of the time there's a lot of talk about innovation, but we really need to think of in terms of simple. And I agree with whoever we said it in an earlier question, that the interaction of people with the system needs to become easier. So what we really see right now is there is even limitations on adopting a solution like an ERP. And I was reading a Q&A, and I just like to answer this first one, is that people face a lot of time and a lot of cost in just implementing a basic ERP solution in our part of the world, and that is because it's very complicated and rigid, and that's where AI can come in and obviously simplify that process. But the 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 entire outlook should be like what at what cost, right? So what is the cost impact of an AI? And I can give a very simple example. For example, if you take a box of chips, for example, a Lay's carton, and Lay's is not very high order value. So a box of cotton would probably be, let's say, 100 reals, and their margins would also be very less. So if you wanted to automate that entire process, the cost of implementing a robotic solution or even an RFID based solution would be very expensive for the company. They would just want like a normal barcode, and in some cases they would not even want a barcode, because even the additional step of pasting the barcode on that carton would cost them a lot. So we really need to understand the value side of it. Like whatever solution that there is needs to contribute in two aspects. It has to make sure that it generates dollars for the company, or reduces or brings in efficiency for the company, where it reduces down their costs. I think that's one important discussion that we need to be aware about as well, because things obviously are very different. And this is like what Aware is trying to solve, is that what we've seen is that over the years, you have amazing companies like Manhattan Associates, Blue Yonder, E2 Open. So these are wonderful, very advanced supply chain technology companies there, who are working, who have solutions ready, and they're working with most of the Fortune 500 companies globally. But what is lacking in our region, that these companies don't come here and work with us? Firstly, obviously, we understand that it's very expensive. Their implementations range from like $5 million to like $50 million, $100 million. So why do they only have two customers in our region? One is Aramco, and the second one is Reliance. These are like the two top companies from our region. So we really need to understand like how technology can be made simple and then also cost effective for the businesses that we're trying to solve for.
Perfect. Thank you, Adil. Really, it was a wonderful discussion. I thank you, all four of you, for your insights, your experience-based insights, actually, and obviously, for me, all four of you are partners for us, friends and partners, and it was a extremely engaging discussion. So again, a big thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking out the time and coming on. I know for Adil, this is now what it's around 9:30 now for him in the night. So and for Sammy, Vaibhav, and Arain, you guys are in the UAE, so it's 8:30. I still have my evening is starting over here. So again, thank you for everybody who's joined. Unfortunately, we had a very interesting and long discussion, so the questions we cannot take, but I thank you all. So again, take care, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Raman.
much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the opportunity.
Okay.
Anytime.
Pleasure meeting
Thank
Bye
you.
everyone.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.